Hello and good morning to all of you. This is another fabulous author spotlight of the Cinderella Monologues. And, we saved the best for last, right? So we've got a few more authors to cover and in preparation for our ebook launch this weekend. And so excited to sit down again with each and every single author. Halloween may be over, but I never leave home without my wings. So I love these butterfly wings. And I really feel that, all the authors are blossoming in their own way on this writing journey. So please save the date. Saturday, November 5th will be our official ebook launch. You can buy the ebook for your Kindle, your tablet, your reader, your iPad, and take the Cinderella Monologues with you at your fingertips. So that is going to be available this Saturday. And we're going to have a big online celebration on Zoom. So you're welcome to join us. And you can buy the ebook version for $2.99. Yes, $2.99 US. All right. And keep up to date with us in the Facebook group. So please, if you haven't done so already, join our Facebook group, Cinderella Monologues, Meet the Authors. So that's where you can watch the live stream of the online ebook launch happening this very weekend. So today's theme is we are going to talk about Cinderella's sub-personality. Yes, so this may be a new term for you. And we have the amazing Dr. Ann K. Schafer with us, who is a licensed clinical psychologist. She's a trauma therapist as well as a just an amazing person who's like very studious about this particular subject about subpersonalities and the whole notion of psychosynthesis. And so we're going to put Cinderella in the therapist chair and have Dr. Ann analyze her and figure out her subpersonality. So stay tuned for this episode. You don't want to miss it. And I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to collaborate with Dr. Ann. We met through Mila, of course, and she was a big part of the Sing Your Heart Song Summit. She also was part of Heart Notes and wrote a letter about Dear Grief. Yes, Dear Grief. And so she knows a lot about the subject matter, particularly about trauma, childhood wounds, unmet childhood needs. And so we're going to dive into all that with her too. Just a little bit more information about Dr. Ann. She's also a professor emerita at Sacramento City College, and she received her certification in neuropsychology from UC Berkeley. So please, everyone, help me welcome Dr. Ann Schafer. Ta-da! There you are. Hello, Dr. Ann.
Hi there. Thank you so much. Good job. You're the hostess with the mostest.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. I mean, I know that you are traveling the online world, speaking at summits and preparing presentations. I really appreciate you making the time to be here.
Well, I love everything Mila does, and now everything you do. Oh my gosh, you've made everything work so beautifully.
You're welcome. So let's get right to it. I mean, this is so amazing that we get to take a different spin on Cinderella. And so, imagining her in your chair, what can we discover about her subpersonalities? And what is, how can we understand that topic a little bit better?
Well, actually, this is my life work. I'm just going to show you a little preview of the book cover for my book that's coming out next, and that is The Soul Growth Solutions, and this is your ticket to exploring inner space. And what we do when we explore inner space, it's the work of Assagioli. It's his legacy. He did a whole scenario of what he wanted to do with the whole subject of trauma. He was put in jail, in real jail, by Mussolini in World War II. And he was a physician. And, that really wasn't a good thing for a physician to be put in jail, but he was, and guess why they put him there? He was praying for peace in public. High crime. So but he was there 27 days. Doesn't seem like it's really long compared to some sentences, but it was enough time for him to develop his whole theory about how we have to deal with our wounds, our unmet childhood needs. One of his unmet childhood needs was his father died when he was only 2 years old. And his mother married, in fact, his first name is Roberto Grego. And then his mother remarried Assagioli, so he took the name Roberto Assagioli, an Italian name. Then he researched and developed this whole idea of how it is your childhood wounds become what you have to heal in yourself. So he had to heal the loss of his father. He had to heal his mother's grief, and this whole thing of being thrown in jail for being a peaceful man. That was amazing. So I thought it was interesting. We all have subpersonalities because we all have childhood wounds. Nobody had perfect parents that I know so far. So what your job as an adult is to find out what those wounds are. And we all have some similar wounds, like everybody has a critic, because nobody had a parent that didn't sort of criticize them. You had to correct your children, and nobody knew how to do it. Okay, so a lot of times kids would be wounded and the parents didn't know. But Italians, Germans, all of the religious sects especially, they were very good at shaking their finger. And so the critic has to be reparented so that it becomes a coach instead of a critic. You can critique things and you can say, how about trying it this way or that way? That's a coaching way, and that's much better than being a critic. So a second one we have in common, everybody has a rebel. A rebel is everybody's teenager. Our teenage years are full of rebellion, right? And I'm sure a little bit of the rebel came out with Dr. Assagioli when he was praying for peace. He was going to say, I don't believe in war, so I'm going to pray for peace on the train. Now he got put in jail. Anyway, so if you have a cause that is important to you, and I certainly do have causes that are important to me, and so I'm going to stand up for those causes. But what you have to learn to do as a rebel, to cure and reparent the rebel, is you have to learn to be a better collaborator. So you go and seek some common ground by the people that you're rebelling against, or the force that you're rebelling against, because in the end, it's a win-win attitude that always makes it good and heals. And then there's a third one that everybody has, and even Carolyn Mace, a very famous author, talks about that, and that is the saboteur. This is the voice and the little person inside you that says, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You can't do this. You're taking too many risks. And we all have a saboteur. Who do you think you are? My grandmother would say, and in her thick German accent, she would say, well, who do you think you are? So we had to deal with that saboteur. That voice becomes louder sometimes when you're trying to do something that's a little bit of a risk taking. And maybe like Roberto Assagioli had a little saboteur in there too. He said, no, I'm not going to put up with this war stuff. It's not right. Killing people's babies? No. So the saboteur, in order to have a win-win and a reparenting with the saboteur, you actually need to become a better negotiator. So reframing it from a negotiator's perspective, that's a much healthier way to deal with the saboteur. Instead of saying, I can't do this, I'll never be good enough. Instead, you negotiate. Well, like I did when I was in graduate school, I thought I never wanted to do another paper after I got my master's degree. I thought, oh my God, I can't put myself through any more writing. Well, of course I did, but I had to negotiate. I had children. I had to negotiate how much time I would spend and how much of their time, children they were sort of latchkey kids, and they will tell you that. So you have to negotiate what's good for everybody involved. And the last subpersonality we all have in common is Cinderella's subpersonality, her main subpersonality. We all have all of these basic four. This one is the victim. Cinderella was the victim of her stepsisters, her stepmother. Apparently, she did not, her natural mother must have died. Do you know the story? Does anybody know the real story of Cinderella? What happened to her mother?
I think she had died, yeah, early on.
So there's a piece of the puzzle that's a very sad piece of the puzzle. Cinderella was definitely wounded because her mother died. Now, I know my own mother died when she was 11. So that wound she shared with me. And I had to be her mother a lot of the time because she didn't have mothering. Her mother died when she was 11. Cinderella, let's say Cinderella's mother died when she was 11. Well, what happened to her? Her father remarried, and it was a wicked stepmother and two wicked stepsisters. Well, you know, she had to learn to deal with that, and she became the victim of having to sweep all the ashes in the fireplace and cook all the food and clean all the stuff. But in spite of all that, she became an empowered survivor, and that is the antidote. And the help that Cinderella needed is to have her empowerment rise up. And of course, it didn't hurt at all that she had somebody that wanted to put a glass slipper on her, take her away from her misery. It was very interesting, in my opinion, that she, in her situation, she was really faced with having to become empowered. And of course, what I think is cute about Cinderella story is that the animals helped her, nature. And a lot of things that we value now are brought, it isn't just other people, it can be nature, it can be hobbies and things. She made everything fun, like you do, Olivia. She was a good model for becoming empowered by her survivorship, and her everything around her was helping her. The birds came and tied her bows.
Yes.
So,
That's so fascinating, Dr. Ann, and thank you. Thank you for just, giving us an overview of these subpersonalities and the antidote. And so as you were going through them, I was thinking of Cinderella as more of the rebel, like despite what her wicked stepmother and stepsister said about her, like she rebelled against that. And she found collaborators, the mice and
that's
nature.
Right. All of that is true. And our subpersonalities are not discrete, finite parts. They are wounds. They are a metaphor, really, for what's happening inside you. But you're right. She did have, and a lot of times our subpersonalities kind of hold hands and do a little coaching inside together.
Excellent. Let's take
the whole idea, though, is to become whole, to put the pieces back together. I
like that. I like the word that you use too, just the reparenting of that subpersonality. So I like that term a lot. Let's talk about your chapter, because you wrote about an immigrant's daughter. And, when I was reading through it, I was just really taken aback by kind of like your reflective approach. Like you really went back in time to reflect on your childhood, and you saw so much. Even at 5 years old, I was stunned. Like at 5 years old, you saw and witnessed so many things that I don't think a 5-year-old normally would come to experience. And so I wonder too, like as you wrote this chapter, what are your unmet childhood needs or wounds, or have you come to terms with that too?
Well, it's a bit of a lifetime challenge, I don't think anybody ever takes care of everything. This whole thing about becoming an adult, or as my younger grandkids say, this adulting thing, this is hard. So becoming an adult and healing your wounds, it does help to have a guideline. And that's why I'm writing Soul Growth Solutions, because it's a guide to becoming whole. It's a guide to dealing with those basic 4 and then more subpersonalities. But instead of it becoming a workbook, it's a playbook. It's a playbook because everybody has the chance to not just write their story, but make a play of their story. So you have characters in your story. I had my mom, I had my grandmother, I had my grandfather, I had my dad who was, I think I told that in the story. I shouldn't tell it all, I guess, but it's kind of interesting what happened with my dad. He went off to war. Now, he was full-blooded German, and World War II was about fighting the Germans. And I found out something I didn't know before, that if you were an immigrant, then you could become a citizen immediately by joining the armed forces. Many people became citizens that way. And I don't know if that's still true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is. So that is kind of the fun part about writing these things. Yes, soul growth solutions. You have a solution for reparenting yourself, seeing things. I talk to people about becoming the director of your movie or your play. You become the director, you become the producer, you become the screenwriter, you make your own play. And then you put in the characters in your playbook and make it fun. And when people work in groups like this, the whole idea is to have coaches with each other and buddies to do it with, so that you can see other people have ideas for your healing that you might not have. So you work together for uplifting and for seeing how, you could, let's say the saboteur is taking over somebody's life and I'll never get a good job, I'll never make any money, or whatever they say to themselves. And we all have done that, So, so you adopt a little theme, like I always adopted 2 things, 1 foot in front of the other, because that's very German, and then keep a stiff upper lip. That was a saying in Germany. What's a stiff upper lip? Well, I guess that's like that, right?
I remember that. I remember that from your chapter. That's one of the things that was like a major theme of your life, that you held yourself to, keeping a stiff upper lip.
Well, that means don't whine. Because really, see, when I thought about it, there were lots of times I could have cried myself to sleep, but I thought to myself, now what good would that do? Who would that help? Wouldn't help my mom. She was already crying for both of us.
Exactly. So 1 foot in front of the other and keep a stiff upper lip.
I'm sure there's more.
So I'm really excited for this title, the soul growth. I mean, I've heard of like personal growth, personal development, and this is quite an interesting twist, soul growth. How did that come to be?
Well, that is part of Assagioli's theme too. He says everybody has something that is you have a whole essence. He calls it essence. And in fact, if you go on my website, you'll see this little diagram. And inside it says soul self, essence, harmony, right in the middle. So if you believe that you have something that is a power, a higher power, a soul, something that is who you are really. And it's like DNA. You are not like anyone else. I have a soul that's different than yours, Olivia. It's different than Mila's. And what that is what you learn to define through the soul growth solution exercises. So in the book, I include how you identify what your soul path is and what your purpose on the planet is. Very important.
I love it. I can only imagine Cinderella going on a soul growth journey.
Well, what do you think? Let's guess a little. You have fun with me here. Let's guess a little bit about what her soul was all about. I have a feeling that she was a caring empathetic person. She even cared about her stepsisters. She did not hold them in great contempt as they did her. So she was the opposite of them. So she took I'm making this up, but this is what I get out of it, that even though somebody is being mean to you or to me, you don't have to be mean back. I'm a big one for win-win. Is it helping you? Is it helping me? Can we win together? What can we do that would be helpful to both of us? So that's something you work together as a negotiator. You say, well, what do you like to do? So I picture Cinderella as coming to her own soul self, as exploring that. And our little exercise in the book is you finish the beginning of the sentence, I am a person who, and ... So you do about 2 or 3 pages of I am a person who. If I were to answer that, it would be I'm a person who loves people. I'm a person who loves entertaining. I am a person who loves learning, and etc. And what would you do for I'm a person who?
Well, I was thinking with Cinderella, her statement could be, I'm a person who forgives. I didn't see her hold a grudge against her stepsisters, and she never looked back.
See why you need another person to do this with? You can't see everything. Now, that was wonderful that you came up with that. What else did you see with Cinderella?
I am a person who, takes care of her surroundings. Like, she cared about her environment and, like, going back to the nature, like, she recognized that she was with nature.
And I would say I'm a person who loves music.
Yes, of course. Yep.
There was a lot of music. Now, whether or not the producers of that did it, but she really always was singing and dancing. I think I'm a person who loves dancing, maybe. I think there's a lot of things that she could. And then after you've done those pages of I'm a person who, then at the end of that exercise, there's specific directions about how you go back and look at it, group things together. And then, of course, we always do the typology and what's your type, and try to make the person feel like, oh yeah, that's me. Check it out with yourself. And there's lots of additional aids, teaching aids.
Wow, this is so cool. Amazing. We could have a whole thesis on the Cinderella alone.
Well, that's right. The Cinderella essence, the essence of Cinderella. Don't you think that's good? Well, that'll be your thesis. But see, what I want is for people to use our soul growth solutions to be able to understand themselves and each other in a play group. It's not a workbook, it's a playbook. So I had so much fun when I was in Dr. Edith Stauffer's playbooks. She taught us to have fun with it. When we had to draw our subpersonalities. So drawing it and giving it words to describe it, that really, really brings it home. Makes it real.
So, do you envision with the soul growth book to organize like Zoom groups, and people gathering together to work in pairs? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes. Well, either of course, I did it before Zoom. So we did it in person, which was lots of fun. And at the end of our training, which was a whole year, it was actually a whole year of working together. And what we did was we had a subpersonality party. So
you come as your subpersonality?
You come as the one that was the most active at that time, or the one that you thought needed to be coming to the party. It didn't have to be, maybe it was one you were having difficulty with. But boy, oh boy, that is so fun because you become that subpersonality. It's not you. By the way, the subpersonalities are not you. That is the evidence of the unmet childhood need. So that's a part of you that didn't get satisfied or treated as empowered or well as it could have been. So now your job as an adult is to discover from the director's chair, the higher self is, what does that subpersonality need to heal?
That's so wonderful. Well, I want to be at that party, the subpersonality.
I know. Don't you see it now? It's right. I can't wait till Soul Growth Solutions comes out and I'm able to put together. I'm looking for good Zoom group leaders. So it really, we can even take turns. I think it's going to be between 4 and 8 people a group. And but you really do need to do this with kindred spirits.
I totally agree, because we can each take a different angle of perspective and contribute to that discussion.
And it looks at the win-win again. Nobody's wrong in these groups. Everybody contributes, and there's nothing but critiquing, no criticism, because that kills the group.
I'm just curious, what would you say to Dr. Ascioli today if you met him? If you were to have tea with him, what would you say, Dr. Ann?
I would say, thank you. I am so grateful that you taught so many people this method, and that I'm as he was. I'm grateful that the Nazis put you in jail. See, he was Jewish. Born to Jewish blood parents. And so he didn't marry the Italian, or he didn't have the Italian father till the second marriage. But I'm just going to say I can appreciate, it helps you appreciate the harder times in your life, because in spite of the fact that he was put in jail 27 days, didn't have a clock, didn't know what day it was, didn't have a calendar, and he would get something out of everything that that delivered in that jail period. So he got his whole thesis he got his whole plan in 27 days. He was a genius. I guess I'd tell him that too. I think you're a genius, and I have loved every minute of learning, teaching, playbook, all of the fun things, because it really shows that something that's therapeutic or trauma therapy, it doesn't have to be work. It doesn't have to be hard. It's fun to find out about yourself from this kind of work, don't you think?
Yes. Even just this little bit of a discussion we're having has really opened up my perspective on different things too. I think I would call my subpersonality, now that I think about her, Little Miss Goody Two Shoes.
Oh, yes. There's a few of those around, You'd have a lot of friends in a group. I think that would probably hold hands with one of mine, which is Little Miss Perfect. Yeah. I think Little Goody Two Shoes and Little Miss Perfect would probably like each other.
Yes. Kindred spirits, right? That you call them?
Oh my goodness, yes. And so we'd have to keep encouraging each other to know that, like Brene Brown said, there are gifts in imperfection. Focus on the gifts of imperfection. So focus on Goody Two Shoes doesn't have to be perfect all the time.
Excellent. And your work with trauma as a trauma therapist, you are constantly seeking out like new solutions, new innovative things. So you've come across something that sounds very exciting. Would you like to share with us?
Well, tell you what, I am blown away by this new information. Absolutely blown away. You're right, Olivia. I am always seeking information. And in fact, I'm giving a talk actually tomorrow, and it is on trauma. And I was stuck because I had a coach that was telling me, you're focusing just a little too hot and heavy on the trauma part of it, and the fact that we are in a traumatized world right now because of the pandemic, because of the economy, because of the climate change. I mean, sex and drug trafficking, you name it, we've got it all. And it's sometimes it's not a pretty picture. And on the other hand, we didn't used to have a surgeon general for our state, and now we do. There are 15 states that have a surgeon general now because of these adverse conditions. Adverse conditions breed resilience. Everything that has come forth that helps resilience and helps healing has happened because of this. Isn't that amazing? So I did come across, I said, well, I better focus a little more on the healing trauma than just identifying it, because there's something called the ACEs study, and that was really blew me away. If you had any kind of violence, domestic violence in your childhood, you are 2 to 5 times more likely to get a health issue like heart disease, cancer, stroke, COPD. Oh, I mean, it has health consequences. So, but here's what I came up with. I thought, well, I better go for some more solutions. So I Googled it, I just did the old Google thing. Healing trauma. What was going to be healing trauma? And I learned about a fabulous, fabulous new neurotransmitter. And you really want me to tell you about it?
Well, let's talk about neurotransmitters. I know of like dopamine,
Yes.
endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin. Yes. So you're saying there's a new one?
Well, actually, we've had these neurotransmitters in us all the time. It's the cannabinoid neurotransmitter. You have receptors for cannabis. You have that. We all have it. But lately, they've been finding that there's some special receptors for the cannabis that does not have THC in it, not the psychedelic kind. So they found an Israeli researcher, a scientist, Dr. Gosh, what is his name? Dr. I don't know if I can pronounce it, but Meshulam, that's close enough, Raphael Meshulam. He is the researcher that's credited with unlocking the medicinal miracles of hemp, and that is cannabis, but it's the one without the psychedelic in it. He found a neurotransmitter that directs this vast network of receptors we already have in our body. It's throughout our body, but mostly in the immune system and the brain. The sole purpose of this receptor system is to maintain balance, harmony, equanimity between body and mind. This blew me away because the only thing it does is extinguish stress, anxiety, fear, pain, insomnia, PTSD, lift the spirit. Holy Toledo, it's called anandamide. That's the name of the neurotransmitter.
Anandamide. Okay. And that seems to have a root word, ananda. Like I recognize that word ananda from somewhere.
Ananda is Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, ananda means bliss. So what they did is they made a supplement out of this anandamide. And the supplement maintains balance, harmony, really has no, it's a bliss pill. It's a bliss molecule is what it is. So now, have you ever wanted a happy pill?
Oh, wow.
It. So now you can buy this supplement. And the man who found out about the Israeli scientist said, well, gosh, I'm already in the supplement business. How about if I make one for the cannabis anandamide?
And what's the supplement called? Do you know?
His supplement that he developed, what's it called? It's called put it on the screen for you. It's called Anandatal. Anandatal. Change the way you experience yourself and the world.
Wow.
So how he discovered that this was doing something for people is the samples they were making to test out the new supplement, they kept disappearing from the lab. So one guy gave it to his mother, and suddenly his mother, who was complaining about everything all the time, became very easy to live with. And he said, So she had been taking these, and then one case after another, all these missing supplements that they were trying out. Now it's a real deal. It's the real deal. And it's been out since 2015. It was discovered in 2005, but it wasn't out until the supplement wasn't out until 2015. I'm blown away. Of course, you know what the first thing I did is, don't you?
Did you contact me?
It's on its way to me.
Wow, this is so encouraging to know that, I mean, this already exists in our body, right? We have the cannabinoid system, endocrine system, these receptors already in place. It just took some time to really bring it to the forefront.
Well, we don't know how the natives used cannabis, but they did. We know they also used ashwagandha and other things. But the receptors are all there waiting for the right thing to come their way. And the right thing is anandamide. And the way they named it was because of the Sanskrit word, ananda means bliss.
Imagine that. Wow. You didn't know you're going to learn about all this neurotransmitter and science on the Cinderella Monologue. So
I wrote this piece for my trauma presentation. And because of the critique that I got from the coach, she said, it just feels too heavy with trauma, you know? So I go looking and seeing if I got more solutions I can look at. Always soul growth solutions, trauma solutions. So I found this Anandatal quite out of the blue. But Jung used to say there are no accidents. And remember, to his graduate students, he always said, remember, we have everything to learn.
And like I remember a line from your chapter that academia is a lifelong saga for you.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm a learner. I mean, let's just go ahead and say that's my biggest subpersonality is the learner, the professor.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ann. This has been just, I think we've covered the gamut. Everything from your chapter to your current trauma studies to the work that you do. Fingers crossed that, you know, the soul growth book comes out and we can have these play dates coming soon.
And you know, the thing about the soul growth solutions, because I'm putting the playbook out at the same time as the course, the online course and coaching, that's taking a little bit longer because it's got more pieces. But I really think it's worth waiting for it to be done right.
No, I think that's fascinating that you call it a playbook and that it's going to be very interactive and it's not meant to be work, right? Like we're going to play and we're going to be able to direct and have all these characters. So that just sounds like a lot of fun to me.
They're your characters in your life. That's the interesting thing. You're going to make your own story, your own play about your life, and you're going to have it be fun to heal yourself with your helpful comrades, you know?
Yes, it can be fun to learn and heal yourself. That's a great ending statement. Oh my gosh, Dr. Ann, thank you so much. And thank you for all of you for watching. If you're watching this on replay, #replay and continue the conversation. Throw in your comments. Let us know what you imagine Cinderella's subpersonalities to be. And, you know, you can share with us your thoughts too and how she might grow from her soul growth journey. So please engage with us. Let us know. Please connect with Dr. Ann. This is her website on the screen. We can see more of that essence diagram that she showed. It's on the website. So please go to askdrann.com, spell the word doctor out. And then, of course, buy the book on Amazon and join us on Saturday for our ebook launch. So There
Thank you. Thank you, Ollie. You're a wonderful interviewer. I enjoyed it immensely.
My pleasure, Dr. Ann. We'll see you Saturday for our launch.
Okay. See you then.
See you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.